Hello, good morning.
Good morning, BBs. It is too early.
It sure is.
Welcome to the first, best, and only morning show in existence. I'm Anthony Carboni.
And I'm Saige Ryan.
And I refuse to clean my apartment. Have you ever had one of those days where you know that it's time to clean your apartment and you sit on the couch knowing it's time to clean your apartment?
Yes.
And you sit all day dreading cleaning your apartment.
Yes.
But refusing to allow yourself to do anything else because you know
you can't do a task. You have to clean your apartment.
You have to clean your apartment.
I'll generally procrastinate with a task.
Yeah.
I find that when I have a deadline coming up for something is when usually my home is the cleanest.
Mm-hmm.
To avoid my deadline.
Same.
And when my home is the dirtiest, I'm usually really caught up on emails.
You can tell if I'm supposed to be writing something or if I'm on a deadline by how many things are posted on my Instagram story. That's how you can tell. It's like, right. Anthony's clearly working on something. There are 80 things on his Instagram story.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, because I did the Star War.
You did.
I got COVID at the Star War.
Right.
I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like rushing to get ready for the Star War, then coming home, being sick for like a week. It just got real messy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It just got real messy.
Yeah.
And now it just continues to be messy. And here's the thing. I sat there all day yesterday and I was like, this is miserable. Who can live like this? No one should be living here. Anybody who lets their place get like this should go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm not fixing it. I'm just going to be mad at it.
Of course.
I'm just
You're
going to
be uncomfortable in your own home because of it.
It's like it's like the ADHD thing of like leaving something on the floor and passing it every day and being mad because there's something on the floor.
Yeah, tripping over it.
But not picking it up because you're on your way to do something else.
I'm busy.
It's a lot of, it's a lot. You were one of the celebration COVID casualties. I was, here's the thing. A virus doesn't know the difference between backstage and not backstage. Everything backstage was I will say this, Disney, Lucasfilm, the convention center, they did a great job of running every precaution.
Mm-hmm.
But you came and visited backstage. We were all in masks. We were like, there were very few people back there. They did everything they could.
Yep.
But a virus doesn't know.
Guys, and the virus is still out there. So here's your reminder, just because they aren't legally enforcing you to wear a mask places, you still should.
Hey, and I'm going to tell you something.
Do it.
Now that I've had COVID, would not recommend. A lot of people are like, maybe I'll try COVID.
Yeah, don't try COVID.
You know what I mean? People are like, maybe I'll give COVID a shot.
Don't do that.
What's the COVID like, I wonder? Some people say.
They do?
Some people are like, I got a couple days. Why don't I grab the COVID? See what it's all about.
Yeah?
Yeah, go down to the Red Box, grab the COVID that everybody's been talking about.
Like how everyone talks about Red Box.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Don't get COVID.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I had a really light case, thankfully. I had 2 really bad days. You remember. I was letting her know. I was giving her live updates. This is the unfortunate thing that happens when a grown man is sick and does not have a significant other. He must complain to somebody. He must.
It's me.
It was you.
It was me.
So I had 2 bad days, and then I was just really bad chest cold for like the rest of the week, but tired. And I'm still very tired.
Yeah.
I get tired very easily still, and I have occasional coughing fits still. But I don't think I have anything like, if the coughing fits continue for another few days, I'm going to talk to my doctor about it, because I know some people's lungs are getting all messed up. And so I want to get checked on for that. But it's just lingering. You know what I mean? Not in like a long COVID way, I don't think. Anyway, what I'm saying is if you're thinking to yourself, maybe I'll check out the COVID this weekend, I would say don't.
And that's our review on COVID.
I would give COVID 2 out of 5.
Wow, that's very high out of 5. I thought you were going to go out of 10 for that. Jesus.
It's 2 out of 5, I think. Well, because there are worse things.
Yeah.
But most things are better.
I don't feel good about that rating.
I mean, look.
I think a 2 out of 10. Because then there's still worse things, but good is further away.
How's your brain? Mine stopped working for like 3 weeks. I went and did a fully improvised live stream with like 1 million people last week, and I had to get on mic and improvise like a little mini monologue. And normally I can do those, like I can just rattle those off the top of my head. My brain was like, word am due now. Character is mad.
I will say.
Emotion is people. Think about it. And then I went home.
Excellent.
You know, we're kind of loose cannons.
Oh yeah?
We kind of don't play by the rules.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We're kind of not what you would expect. I'd say we're not your daddy's news show. You know what I mean?
Well, actually, we are your daddy's news show.
Daddy is hosting the news show.
It is my news show.
But we're not your.
Also.
Okay, how about this? It's not your grandma's video game news.
Yeah,
how about that?
Yeah, I love that.
You know,
that's good. We're workshopping it live.
We're all over. You never know. You think we're gonna zig and we zag. The video game industry says it's the biggest week of the year, and we say, eat shit.
We're going out of town.
We're taking a break. We're trying to build up this channel. We're trying to do a big video game news show. What are we gonna do? When the video game news comes out, we fucking disappear. Smoke bomb.
Now that's where it once again becomes like a father's news show.
That's
But when you need them the most, they vanish.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Is the video game news coming out? I just got to run to the store for some cigarettes.
Right. I swear I'll bring back milk.
I'm just heading to the ice machine, we said. And now that the video game news is mostly over, we're back.
We are. And honestly, I would actually like us to start with something that's a little different than we normally start with. But since we were talking about things that are kind of 2 out of 10, I'd like to open with talking about Activision Blizzard.
Now, Activision Blizzard, you give a 2 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
For just because it's a 2 out of 10 based on like everything.
Yeah.
Or is it based on other video game companies?
Honestly, I'm going for a general 2 out of 10.
Like a general 2 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they get
Activision Blizzard, the COVID of video game companies.
Kind of though, right?
Like kind of.
Considering how I somehow cannot escape Overwatch 2 news.
Hey, and by the way, we're going to keep saying it. Everyone who is reporting on Overwatch 2 and playing Overwatch 2.
Stop it.
Listen to me. And acting like it's just a video game to review. Fuck you. And some of you are our friends, and fuck you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that shit sucks.
Do not cover Activision Blizzard games without giving the context of what's going on at Activision Blizzard. Anyway, what's going on at Activision Blizzard?
Let's talk about it. So, an investigation was conducted by the board of directors at Activision Blizzard.
Yes.
On gender discrimination, harassment at the company.
Right. The board of directors did an investigation as to whether the board of directors ignored harassment complaints. The executive said, we must investigate ourselves to see if we have been wrong.
And shockingly, they came back with, no, I don't think so.
No, I think we're good.
No,
actually, y'all, we might be too good.
So what they actually came back with was that they found no systemic problems in gender-based harassment or discrimination.
Certainly not. They didn't find any, and they looked everywhere. They did this. They did. I think we're okay.
I don't see anything. Do you?
I think it's probably just a couple bad apples, and we got rid of them. You know what I mean? We're probably very progressive now.
They all did finger guns
Yeah.
and went back into their
They're
very
like,
expensive
bonuses?
Bonuses.
Bonuses?
Bonuses. Not for you. They pointed a woman.
They pointed a woman. They go, we don't feel like you invested enough in the investigation. They pointed at the woman. They were like, Andrea, we didn't really see you during the investigation very much. So I don't know. Maybe work harder.
Maybe next year. So they said the allegations in the media and legal filings about our company were as distressing to us as they were to all of you. Contrary to many of the allegations, there is no evidence to suggest that Activision Blizzard senior executives ever intentionally ignored or attempted to downplay the instances of gender harassment that occurred and were reported.
Never.
So, again,
especially during a merger, during an acquisition that could potentially give them millions and millions of dollars individually in bonuses, they certainly didn't overlook this stuff.
Like, that's the thing. They did say that these incidents did occur, but we weren't trying to ignore it. It wasn't on purpose.
No.
And you can't prove intent is the problem.
No.
So if they just say, well, we did not mean to.
Nothing.
Do you think they can get away with that? They said the filing also states the findings were without merit, and while there are some substantiated instances of gender harassment, there is no evidence that harassment, discrimination, or retaliation were ever a systemic issue at Activision Blizzard.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks, guys. I guess we're good.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm sorry for everything I said about people who aren't critically covering Activision Blizzard right now. I just read that paragraph that was written by Activision Blizzard about how they didn't do anything wrong, and I apologize, and fuck yeah, Overwatch 2.
There are, look, there was like a big story in the tabletop RPG community this week that we didn't cover because it's literally not important enough. Honestly, like that's it. That's the reason. But I will say there was an apology video that went out yesterday that was
Did something happen?
And in it was pretty much said, if I'm so bad, why did you let me abuse you?
Yeah.
Why did you guys let me take advantage of you? It was like a big sentiment. You trying to set it on me?
Uppy. I want uppies. Yeah, it's the old if I was doing bad, why were you letting me do bad?
Said I didn't do it on purpose. I didn't do bad on purpose.
If being abusive and terrible and withholding payment from people that I owe payment to is bad, why didn't somebody tell me? That's the thing, is nobody told me. If people had told me...
If you had sent your invoices, I would have paid them. No one has ever sent her an invoice.
I've never seen an invoice.
Once.
We're going too far into this.
Yeah.
But
Hi, Kaylee. Good morning.
We're going too far into this.
My point is, Activision Blizzard is bringing the same energy of like, I mean, we didn't try to ignore this.
If that's harassment, why didn't anyone tell us that's harassment? Seems weird. If those women and people of color felt like they were being treated badly by me, their boss, why didn't they say that I was a bad person? Me, their boss.
Right.
Seems weird.
It's like I had an HR person look at me and say, well, if the company is so bad to you, then why do you work here?
Jesse PB said something really, it's not systemic, it's just a consistent approach we took without reflection.
Right.
It's not systemic, it's simply an automatic response. It's simply something that's built into the very fabric of the way we do things. It's not systemic.
Just because it keeps happening doesn't mean...
And it feels like it's built to happen and made to happen?
Right, because the entire top line in which these would be reported to are cis straight white men. I mean, I don't see where you can think that this is stacked against you.
So weird. Everybody stop being weird and leave Activision Blizzard alone. Overwatch 2, fuck yeah. In better video games news, the Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary celebration stream happened yesterday. Final Fantasy VII, of course, one of my least favorite games of all time, but it's a big deal. It's a huge deal, Final Fantasy VII.
It is a huge deal.
I personally have never been a big fan, but
And that's okay.
That's okay. It is an influential video game that changed the course of the industry. And it was also boring. And both of those things can be true. Final Fantasy VII had their 25th anniversary celebration, where several big announcements happened. First of all, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, this is the second part of the Final Fantasy VII remake, got a first look trailer. Ooh. It looks
Anthony.
It looks very good. It does. Look, here's something that you can say about Square games and Final Fantasy games in particular. They're fucking gorgeous.
Yes.
They always are. They always are. And this trailer looks very good.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Sword Boy and the Wingman.
Mm-hmm.
Sword Boy and Wingman. And they're friends, but they're also not friends.
Mm-hmm.
And his mom is bad. There's a lot going on.
A lot of flowing hair.
A lot of flowing hair. It's great.
Yeah, I froze for a second. That's not the trailer.
But one of the big announcements that happened alongside this trailer was that this isn't going to be 2 parts like we thought. This is going to be 3 parts, baby.
Honestly, I'm actually not surprised by that.
Me neither. I thought it was going to be at least 5. I thought they were going to milk this thing for the next decade almost.
Yeah.
I genuinely did. Because the amount that they covered in the first one told me that we had a long way to go.
Yes, I agree.
Because it was just Midgar.
Right.
And when I was like, we're not out of Midgar yet, we got 5 of these coming. But it turns out it's going to be 3.
3 was my guess.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. Rebirth is going to launch next winter on PS5. It will, of course, be a timed exclusive, the way these things normally are. But they announced a couple other things that are pretty interesting. The first one that I want to talk about, even though it was one of the final things that they talked about, is Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is actually a really brilliant idea. One of my problems with the Final Fantasy remake is a lot of people have never played Final Fantasy VII before, and they're like, I'm going to play the Final Fantasy VII remake, and it's like, whoa. It's not actually a remake. It's turning into a totally different story.
Right.
And people are like, well, how do I know the old story? How do I experience it? And I'm like, well, you play 18 different games.
Yeah.
And some of them are incredibly boring. But you don't have to do that because Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is a mobile game. First of all, just mobile right now. Mm-hmm. But it's basically a remake of the original Final Fantasy VII plus all of the Final Fantasy sort of compendium games.
Interesting.
So you get the entire story.
Okay.
You get the entire story all the way through. Now, what's not interesting about Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis?
Go on.
It's mobile. It's free to play. Now they say
free to play does typically mean microtransactions.
It's going to have the loot boxes.
Mm-hmm.
The loot boxes are going to have weapons and costumes. Now, the costumes, not a big deal. The weapons, though, in an RPG, that's potentially... Listen, the way Square's done their mobile stuff before, they get a little greedy on the mobile.
And we don't know what's going to happen yet. There's no guarantee that anything that is like necessary or feels really important to get through the game will be like paywalled.
Fingers
or gave
crossed.
The loot boxes. But there is a possibility, and it's worth being aware of. I think it's a bummer, the vitriol that's met for mobile games now.
Well, because, yeah, and this is something we've talked a little bit about before. Oh my God, squirrel at the window. Squirrel at the window.
That's my friend.
We've talked about this before. There are a lot of mobile games that I really love, but there is something where with mobile games, you have to let everybody know this is not a blood-sucking mobile game.
I just think that there's an opportunity for an entire genre of incredible games, and there's like an accessibility for developers and independent developers that is important. And for some reason, we've created this weird culture around mobile games where it started being like, oh shit, mobile games are going to be really fucking cool. Like, this is going to be fucking video games in our pocket. 2010
to like 2013
yeah.
on iOS was like a golden age of creativity for indies.
And now it's become this like, mobile games aren't real games. They're all just fucking like gachapon. That's it. And I think that's a bummer because I don't think that's what mobile gaming is.
Yeah.
But I think there's this like negative connotation around it that's going to stop people from developing for mobile.
Well, and I also think that mobile games that do have micropayments, there are ways to do it that are perfectly fine. I play a couple mobile games where it's like, this is free to play.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I can give them money if I want to, but if I don't, I still feel like I'm progressing. Yeah, mobile games get a lot of flack. And it's because a lot of them are kind of predatory cash grabs. But hopefully this one will not be. I think this is a very interesting thing for people who have not played Final Fantasy VII. And I think if this game is good enough and compelling enough, it would be neat to see it come to consoles and PC as well, as a way for people to genuinely play through the entire compendium without looking and going, oh my God, there's 300 hours ahead of me.
Right.
Because this also includes this includes Crisis Core events, this includes Advent Children events, this includes like everything that you need to know.
That's really cool.
To know the original Final Fantasy timeline.
Alonzo in the live studio audience said, yeah, but the development culture needs to help to rebuild confidence in them. Yes, but also, how is an independent developer supposed to fix your confidence in it if you won't download their game?
Yeah, it's not so much the developers that need to fix it. It's the platforms and the stores that really have done this. You know, that's why we're always talking about how worried we are about Game Pass. That's why I was worried about Apple Arcade, because it's a race to the bottom, right? And we do get a lot of that. I mean, that's kind of what started the mobile crisis to begin with. Is like a mobile game came out for $10, and people were like, $10 for a game on my phone? And then another game came out for 99 cents, and people were like, well, I'll buy this 99-cent trash.
Right. We're like, $10 for a whole ass game?
Yeah.
That's a good price. And there's so much you can do on mobile. There are definitely mobile games worth $10.
Yeah.
It's just the culture of what you're willing to pay.
Talking about more of this stuff.
And more about you literally said the mobile crisis. So speaking of crisis, people are really excited for Crisis Core as well.
That's because it's Good Boy Zach. Everybody loves Good Boy Zach. Everybody loves Good Boy Zach. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is going to be a prequel that focuses on Zack Fair. It's a full remaster of the PSP game, which is huge. Look, man, here's what I'll tell you. The Vita did not do well, but the PSP was like a fucking treasure trove.
Yeah, I loved my PSP,
but
I never had a Vita.
It was the PSP was just an unbelievable treasure trove of games, and this is a great one. It's going to come out this winter. PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and the Switch. Now, is it cloud version? Square tends to do a lot of cloud versions.
They do,
and then I get mad at them because they say buy this game on your Switch, and I go, oh shit, yeah, and then they go, it streams badly to it.
Right. And they haven't announced whether or not that's going to be cloud yet. Given that it's a PSP port.
Yeah, but Kingdom Hearts was a PS3 port, and like the Switch should be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know? So I do like this. And it is a remastered port too. It's not just straight up the PSP. Yeah. But I would love to see this running actually on the Switch. I'm looking at it and it's like,
yeah, I think it'll run actually on the Switch.
Yeah, it's because the character models are really intensely good, but they're on like, you know, it's that RPG / fighting game stuff where the character models are really, really detailed and then the backgrounds are a little like whatever. Does Anthony have a working Switch again? My Switch was never broken. My Steam Deck was broken.
You have a working Steam Deck?
I have to send it back. I keep forgetting.
Anthony, you're gonna miss the window.
There's no window. I have an RMA from them, so it's just a matter of sending it back. I just haven't. Final Fantasy Remake Intergrade, the fancy version, is now on Steam. you can now grab that, have fun.
Can I just give an opinion
Yeah.
as someone who's never played a Final Fantasy game?
Sure.
The amount of things that have similar names that are all part of 7, for instance, is like the wall to get into this makes this so extremely overwhelming.
It's ridiculous.
I find this so incredibly off-putting. I want to get into Final Fantasy, and every time something like this happens, I get pushed another good bit back because I'm just like, what is all of this?
Well, I'll tell you this. All you really need to do is play the mainline games.
Right.
If you want to get into it. So play all the main numbered games. And then if you really like Final Fantasy VII has a lot of support games.
Mm-hmm.
If you really enjoy Final Fantasy VII, you can like always jump to the wiki and see what order they come in or whatever. I can tell you what, I can skip everything for you. Bless you. Bless you. I can tell you this, you're going to love Vincent Valentine from Final Fantasy VII, and you're going to want more Vincent Valentine, and Vincent Valentine has a game called Dirge of Cerberus, and it's bad. So really just play the mainline Final Fantasy games.
I think you're really setting me up for disappointment here.
Listen, I'm not the right guy because I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy.
Right.
I actually like the newer ones a lot better, because they've learned to sort of like cut the fat and not be as like run around and do a million boring things.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, and this is not just Final Fantasy. This has a lot to do with the industry back then. Padding out the time in RPGs was a big deal. Like around the 4th, 5th, 6th generation, it was like, hey man, make sure that that you can put on the back of the box 70 hours of gameplay. Like that was the most important thing. Does it have the most graphics and the most hours? And I'm just like, I look at that now and I'm like, bleh.
Oh, give me less hours. Lots of Kittens made an excellent pitch and said Final Fantasy VII is also a big bisexual dilemma game, a la The Mummy. And that's, I don't know, that comparison does something for me.
I mean, yes and no. Yes and no.
I don't think you can speak for the bisexuals.
I can't.
You can't.
I can't.
Tap out.
But it just doesn't feel as concentrated as The Mummy, though. That's all. The Mummy is pure crystallized bisexual energy. That's what The Mummy's about.
I'll take Lots of Kittens' word for it.
As well you should. I'm just saying, when you say The Mummy, I'm like, whoa, that's big.
Navari said hi at The Mummy, and that's why I think it's a great pitch. Anthony, you're not a big Final Fantasy fan.
No.
Are you a big Dragon's Dogma fan?
Look, on Wednesday, I said they're never going to give you a Mega Man. They're never going to give you a second Dragon's Dogma. You will not be playing any more pig riding games. Mm-hmm. But they did it.
They did it. They announced Dragon's Dogma 2.
They did the Dragon's Dogma 2. They announced it during the 10th anniversary, and I gotta say, I was very surprised. Dragon's Dogma was a really, really good game. Dragon's Dogma, like, I fit into... It goes in the same place in my heart as, like, a From Software Souls games. It was a real experimental, semi-multiplayer, like, really wild fantasy thing that Square did, or Capcom did, and I just could not believe it. I loved it, and I was just like, we'll never get anything like that again.
Interesting.
We'll never get, because it did all right, but it didn't do, like, crazy well.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I genuinely thought, brace yourself for a lot of nothing during this. They're going to announce, like, a Dragon's Dogma, like, Japanese 7-Eleven collaboration, and, like, a Dragon's Dogma, like
figurine.
Figurines, and just like tchotchkes.
Yeah.
10th anniversary tchotchkes. But man, they really did. They really said Dragon's Dogma 2. But that's all they said.
It's literally it.
They had nothing to show. They had nothing more to say other than it's in development.
Yep. No timeline, no real people attached other than the director of the game that spoke about it.
Mm-hmm. We know that it's using the RE engine, the RE engine, however they say that, which is the fancy Resident Evil Capcom engine that they make their stuff on, which is interesting.
Sure.
Why not? But that's all we know. They hope that they said, Itsuno said basically, we're making it and we hope it's worth the wait for you. You're going to ride a pig.
How do you make something worth a 10-year wait?
You don't. What we've often found is that you don't.
That's tough.
It's really tough. But, I don't think it's like a lot of these things where it's like, oh my God, after 10 years, they're doing it. I don't think Dragon's Dogma is one of the ones that has like a lot attached to it or as much attached to it as some of these other games.
No. Pretty much the reactions I saw all over Twitter yesterday were just like, no shit.
Yeah, it was like, all right.
No way.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
This is surprising.
Pretty good game.
Wow.
Huh.
It wasn't people being like, holy shit, I'm so excited to play this. It was just like, holy shit, I can't believe they're doing another one.
I mean, can I tell you, like, the real scary thing, if you're a Capcom or a Square and you're putting out these games after like decades or whatever, The World Ends With You got a sequel after years of people screaming for it, and we didn't even fucking notice. Like, it came out and everybody was like, oh cool, I was screaming for that for a decade and they made it. Are you gonna play it?
Good on ya.
There's I got a lot going on.
But thanks for doing it, man.
But 66. Yeah, I think that's a great point in the live studio audience. Capcom was like, can we get some of this Elden Ring money? That's the thing. Dragon's Dogma was a Souls-like at a time where it wasn't cool to be a Souls-like, and it's not really a Souls-like, but it's similar vein, similar vibe, and now everything's a Souls-like. And Capcom's like, but we had one where you could ride a fucking pig.
Sweet, yeah, that was fun.
Why? We should put out this pig one.
Yeah, you should.
We've had it the whole time.
Please do. But that's it.
We got a lot of things we got that System Shock remake. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of stuff like that last week where it was like, behold, this thing that you've been wanting. And everybody was like, oh yeah, I have been wanting it. And all these companies were like, motherfucker, you yell at us every day. It's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think you were actually going to do it, I guess.
I do yell at you every day for that. Huh. All right. Fair dinkum, they said. Everybody looked at it and said, fair dinkum. And then they moved on. I want to talk about some other announcements. We got the big Forza. People love the Forza.
I love that for you. We have so many clips that exist of us talking about Forza, and every time it is the same thing where it's like, man, people love Forza, and I go, good for you.
Good for you. And then I always say, racing games is fun because it shows off hardware, and it's where all the cool graphics come from.
So cool.
What's sort of interesting is, like, after showing off their very cool Hot Wheels thing that I really enjoyed, actually, with the loop-de-loop tracks and all that stuff, and like the weird, like, retro 90s punk soundtrack, I was like, this is great. They also talked about this new Forza Motorsport that's coming out, not the Horizon, the Motorsport, the real racing simulation one. And they were talking about real-time ray tracing, and the only reason I put this in here is because all they did was take a fucking dig at Gran Turismo.
Oh.
The director of Forza was like, we're not misleading you over in-game ray tracing. Ooh. Saying, we're not trying to mislead you or be funny with words. Ray tracing is here, it's on track, and most importantly, it's real-time gameplay. I want to make that clear. When we say on track, it doesn't mean it's only in replays or only in photo mode, and we're just being funny with words. We're not trying to mislead you. When you're racing and you're playing the game, ray tracing is on. Damn!
That's pretty good.
That's the deepest cut that only cuts like 6 people.
Yeah, right?
Like, there are 6 people who are so pissed.
That dude stared into the camera during the entire presentation right into those 6 people's eyes, though. You know what I mean?
Fuck, he really said, come at us, Gran Turismo. And Gran Turismo is like, we've got bigger problems than lying about ray tracing.
Yeah, we're not coming at you.
We are literally trying to come back from charging like $57 for a car. Like,
we're very upset with us. I'm not worried about it. It's very funny.
It's extremely funny. I
do want to see, Lee Green Griffin in the live studio audience said that they were a big fan of Forza Horizon, but not able to play Forza Motorsport. What's up with that? Is it just the, like, change of the realism of it?
Yeah, Horizon feels like it continues on from, like, Burnout a little bit. It's very arcadey and over the top. Whereas Forza Motorsport really is a Gran Turismo competitor where it's like, tune your car and drive it like a real car and like don't go like 179 bazillion miles an hour around a curve.
Why?
Yeah, for me that's like,
I have to do that every day.
I have real car.
Why would I pay money for a fake car to do that?
Look, fake car, go in and get the transmission looked at on the fake car.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I don't really do racing simulation.
Doesn't sound fun, but Lee Green Griffin said it is too crunchy.
Yeah, it's just too much. Somebody was like, "Ooh, ray tracing on the Hot Wheels tracks." No. I think the Hot Wheels tracks are Forza Horizon, I believe. Forza Motorsport is too serious for Hot Wheels tracks.
Please.
They would never.
Please
so
take this appropriately serious.
No, yeah, please take your car games as seriously as the fucking director of Forza who has to like put a hit out on people about it.
There will be no fun had in Forza Motorsport. It's not allowed.
No, what you will do instead is add an exhaust that that removes 0.01 of the drag coefficient. Cars.
Are we gonna have to start thinking about carbon emissions in the video games?
Do you remember in Cars 2 where they're spies? I like that. That's Cars I like.
Yeah.
I don't know about any of this other stuff. Oh, the vampire car? You looking up the vampire car from Cars? Isn't that just Mater in his costume? Oh no, that's the
Evil McQueen.
That's the Evil McQueen meme. Yeah.
Now, I don't know what stream. I think it was on my personal channel years ago. Somebody in my chat was like, I don't know how else to say this, but for some reason, you look exactly like this car.
Oh, see? Now I was gonna say you want to fuck that car.
No, they said this car and I have the exact same energy.
Kinda. This looks like a car that you would be sexually attracted to, though.
It's a weird thing to say.
Well, I'm not saying you are sexually attracted to cartoon cars, but I'm saying if you were, that would be the car that you would go after. I don't know.
I preferred the first bit.
Sure.
Let's keep talking about video games.
Okay.
In a game that I feel like people aren't talking about enough, Demeo, which is it's available on PC, and honestly, PC, fine, whatever. But in VR, it's really fucking sick. They have a free update coming called Curse of the Serpent Lord.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. And it looks fucking great. This is a virtual tabletop game, and it's genuinely a lot of fun to play.
We've talked about this one before. You got to check this out.
I got to check this out a little bit early with Smosh. I will say it was a little buggy at the time.
Sure.
There was definitely some things where I was like, they'll improve upon this. I hope that they have, because it was foundationally fucking rad. It was really cool, and it was difficult, which I enjoyed very much.
Mm-hmm. Now, how much of it, you come in just a little bit. How much of it does somebody DM and set up these campaigns, or these are just set up for you?
No, they're like dungeon crawls.
Okay.
So it's DM-less, but you enter into a dungeon and there's a certain amount of enemies and everyone has like special abilities. There are items to get to on the other side, but there's a lot of like real-time strategy that has to be done to keep your players alive to get to the next dungeon where you can respawn, essentially.
Okay.
And I just felt like it blended tabletop and video games like extremely well.
So I mean, we're seeing a lot of cinematic, but the gameplay itself is kind of like There we go. So the gameplay itself is on a game board. The things look like miniatures.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's animated miniatures.
When you're in when you're in VR, it's kind of, is it like a God mode where you're looking at the table and you're moving things?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
And it definitely has a initiative order combat strategy, and I think that it's cool. It gave me good D&D feelings. And it was nice to see it come to life. I think it was genuinely very fun. And I'm glad that they're continuing to update it. What I was afraid of when I played it was it just being this buggy base game forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to see that they are still working on it. That's why I was excited about this news. And they've done some other updates, but to see, a year later, them still doing updates and working on it, I'm very excited about it.
So I think that's cool. And I definitely love the idea of sharing a table in VR. Mm-hmm. We've talked about that before. That board game simulator that was on Steam for a very long time, where people were just making mods that were actual board game. I love stuff like that, particularly during the Panini over the last couple years. When I see something like this, my brain immediately goes, but there should be campaign editors in this thing.
So I think that there might be a mode to build out dungeons and things like that. Mm-hmm. But when you asked is there a DM that's running it, essentially, that was the no from me.
Gotcha.
But I do believe there are level editors.
Because I think about it the same way of the old school Neverwinter game that had a DM mode where you were adding things in real time if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. And I love stuff like that. And I feel like
I'm not sure if that's the case. I can't say that it isn't.
Yeah.
But I can say that you are absolutely able to play it fully GM-less. But I can't speak to if there is a mode that you can play where someone can live edit. I think that would be a cool idea.
I think that would be great. And I think the tools and the technology have come such a long way now where and I'm not trying to minimize the work that this team has done on their pre-made their levels that they've created and stuff like that. It's just, I think that anybody who sees something like that with that tabletop metaphor, if they're a tabletop player, immediately goes, can I use it to make my stuff?
Yeah,
because we're always looking for better stuff to use.
Right.
But I think that's great. I love the look of that. I'm going to have to try that out. Amazon. You know that Prime Day is coming up. Have you bought cards for everybody?
Yes, of course. I'm prepared. I have my offerings to leave out for the BZ.
Yeah, you have to listen. You have to buy the biggest goose from the butcher. Yeah. The one in the window, the one twice as big as me.
Right.
And families all come together. Mm-hmm. Have you gotten your tickets home yet for Prime Day?
Yeah, absolutely. I bought them through Alexa.
I try to be home on Prime Day Eve if I can, just for the vibe. But it's so hard now.
Yeah, and
what with everybody working for Amazon,
right?
And Amazon not giving anybody any time off.
And if you don't leave $2.50 of every sub out on Prime Eve, then he will loot your entire house.
Prime Day is, of course, when Amazon says batteries and kitchen gloves are 40%. Prime Day sucks. It's a garbage thing, but Prime Day this year, Amazon's trying something a little different.
Now, we know that Amazon has been taking an interest in getting into games, obviously from developing their own to wanting to be a little bit more of, can we get in on that marketplace of games? Can we be a place
to
where we
owning
get games?
This very platform that we scrounge to make our lives a little bit better on every day.
So for this Prime Day, Amazon is offering 30 free games. That'll be on July 12th, running into July 13th.
But you already knew that because we all know Prime Day.
Of course. And one of them is the Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Yeah, they're going to be giving away. They're going to be giving away more than 30 games. 10-Second Ninja X, 8 Doors, Addling Adventures, Bang Bang Racing. I mean, some of these are good. I mean, Fatal Fury Special, the Gianna Sisters game is pretty good. Metal Slug. I mean, this is definitely the prime day of giving away free games.
Isn't it? Where it's like, well, it's not really anything I needed.
Yeah. It's not like the hugest things, but some of them are good. I like the classic SNK stuff if you don't have that on another platform. Rain World is pretty good. It's interesting. And then they're going to
Those are the 25 indie games.
They're going to announce another. Then they're going to do another half dozen games. They're going to do Grid Legends, Need for Speed Heat, Jedi Academy, and Jedi Outcast, and Republic Commando, which Republic Commando is another one of those, just like Bounty Hunter, that doesn't get enough love, I think, for Star Wars games.
I'm curious to see how this goes because I have most of these downloaded. And most of these run horrifically on PC. And not just like, oh, it looks bad. Oh, it lags. It's an old-ass game. I expect that. It, like, crashes my PC.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then, of course, you know, when you look at things like the SNK stuff, I mean, that stuff's out everywhere.
Yeah.
It's something, I guess. It's not, I mean, look, I would rather have, like, what Epic did for the last few weeks. And
just
it's
a free
just like,
game a day.
But, yeah, and just crazy big ones once a year. Like, Epic really went all in. Like, Epic was just like, here's Borderlands 3 if you haven't played it. Oh, okay.
I totally missed all of this. I have played Borderlands 3.
So there was, they did something with it. But, you know, Amazon, they have the Prime Gaming thing where they give you little bits and bobs once a month. I never check my Prime Gaming stuff because it's always like, here are 20 gems for some game.
You don't have.
Yeah. Here's boots for a character in a mobile RPG you've never heard of. And I'm just like, okay. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm really just here for the free shipping on toilet paper, but that's dope.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to click on it to make the number go away on Twitch.
Yeah.
Prime Gaming loot.
That's the worst. Is it pops up. I cannot stand, my ADHD cannot stand a little badge on a screen.
Hate it.
And I know it's not important, but the badge is there.
Hate it.
And my brain is just like, ugh.
Yep.
Ronan's saying, I wish they had kept the free turbo and not the free game stuff. But here's the thing. They know we want free turbo.
Right.
And they know free turbo is worth something to us.
So we'll pay for turbo, but we're not going to pay for these game loot.
No, Prime Gaming is just like, they have a team of people in a room that calls up a bunch of different game publishers and says, hey, is there anything you'll give us for promotional consideration this month?
Right.
And that's all it is. It's the loot crate of fucking game giveaway stuff.
Miss Reaper Lightning said, but where would we buy those cool 8 a.m. mugs? You want them?
I don't know. Hard to say where you would get mugs like this.
Maybe someday soon. On pixelcircus.party/shop.
Who knows? But you know, this is Amazon doing what they've been doing for years. Just dipping their little toesies in and being like, do we want to run a game store? Do we want to run a game store?
I don't know.
And I'll tell you what, based on their acquisitions of other things in the past, I'll tell Amazon right now, no, you do not. You did not want to run a comic book store.
Nope.
We know that. You did not want to run a music streaming service. We know that. Because all you do is just put everything into the main Amazon storefront, and then I don't know where anything is. If I'm looking for it just looks like everything else. You don't want to run a game store. You don't want that. Just keep selling gift cards. Amazon is the #1 place to get V-Bucks and Roblox points and all that shit.
I bet.
You know?
Yes, because, I mean, who's at the front of a grocery store anymore? Picking up gift cards? Not happening.
Not happening. Looking for Prime Video on the main Amazon site is impossible. It's impossible.
You can't. I have to Google Prime Video or just have it bookmarked.
Yeah, or look up what you're trying to watch.
Yeah.
Prime Video this. Like Prime Video Miss Maisel. And then you can get to...
It's only ever Miss Maisel.
Right. Unless you have, like, the Prime Video app on some smart thing, there's no way you're ever going to find your shit.
Anthony, did you know that I didn't know Lenny Bruce was a real person? Did you know Lenny Bruce was a real person?
We've had this discussion.
No.
Yes, we have. And I was like, the thing that's problematic to me about Miss Maisel is the Lenny Bruce stuff, because the more notoriety she grabs and the closer she gets to Lenny Bruce and these other figures, the more it deviates from reality and the less I can invest myself in the show.
But
and
the
you
show
were
doesn't
like,
claim to be based on reality.
And you were like, well, I don't really have that problem. Did you not have that problem because you didn't know Lenny Bruce was real?
Yeah. But also, I still don't have that problem because it never claims to be based on reality. There's nothing about this show that like is grounded in reality. For me, she's not even Jewish.
But they put Lenny Bruce in places, and they have him say things and do stuff that didn't happen to Lenny Bruce, which like it's fine because the show is fiction. But it does take me out of it a little bit because I go, Lenny Bruce didn't do that, and it's a thing that pops into my head, and then I continue, and I still enjoy the show.
At this point, I am far too in love with this fictional Lenny Bruce to take up any issue with this.
That's fair. That's fair. No, Lenny Bruce was a fucking superhero in my house growing up. A lot of respect for Lenny Bruce.
Never heard of him. Oops. Anyways.
It's like the same problem with The Greatest Showman. The Greatest Showman, I think, is a little different because once you turn something into a musical, it's just like, fuck, there it is. It's a musical.
See, and I disagree. See, I think because The Greatest Showman was pitched as based on these people's lives, that's a way bigger problem for me.
That's fair.
Especially when it's based on these guys who were like, racists and shit. And then they're just like, but they were good guys that did good things. And he was a beautiful little man that did a song. That's a way bigger problem for me.
Yeah.
Some of the songs from The Greatest Showman are some of the greatest musical songs that have ever come out of a movie.
So I think for me, maybe it's the same thing with you and Lenny Bruce, is that I didn't know much about those people. I don't care much about those people. And I don't even find The Greatest Showman, like, I think The Greatest Showman is fine. I think some of the music is great.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big musical person. It takes I like a select group of musicals.
The music from that movie slapped.
The music from that movie totally slaps. But I think because I wasn't invested as much in these real people, it didn't bother me as much. Maybe the same way. I'm not even invested,
but I am invested in like people being misrepresented as specifically like, look at this good old white guy.
Yeah. I assume that any biopic about any white guy from before, like, I don't know, 3 years ago, and even then, I'm kind of like, what are you removing?
Yeah.
What are you removing? Every time I see a movie about good old Uncle Walt Disney, I was like, he did not like Jewish people very much, and I am Jewish. And so...
and I wake up every day and I still am, so I still don't like it.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like, anytime I see something about really good people from like the 50s or the 60s, I'm just like, we're probably leaving a lot out, and that's fine.
Yes, the exception is the Weird Al biopic.
Right, because Weird Al, number one, we know is a pretty good dude.
Perfect.
Number two, we also know is not real.
The biopic is a parody.
So anyway, yeah.
The biopic isn't real. It can't hurt you.
It can't hurt you. So yes, long story short, I did know that Lenny Bruce was a real person. He's very funny. You should check out some of Lenny Bruce's albums or TV appearances. They're very good. My favorite Lenny, one of my mom's favorite Lenny Bruce jokes is like when Lenny Bruce said, people often tell me, they come up to me and they say, so you're Jewish, right? And it's like, yeah, so you killed Christ. And he's like, yeah, me and my parents did it down the basement. Yeah, I did that. Sure.
Yes, it was me. All right, let's keep talking. We're going to move into some television and movie news since we're talking about TV anyways. And I get to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Greatest series ever made.
Huge news. We've been a little afraid of the future of the Avatar franchise because it's been splintered off.
I'm afraid for the Netflix series.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid of anything coming from the Avatar animation studio that became under development with Paramount. We haven't seen anything from it, but we knew that the creators went there, directors on the original project, artists from the original shows moved over to this Avatar animation studio.
And all of their communication when doing it was, we respect what Netflix is doing. Netflix is doing a great job. We're going to let them run their show. We think they have interesting ideas, and we're excited to see their take. It's a lot of, like, being very nice and kind, but also being like, well, here's what I wonder. Is it them being like, we did not want to work with those people, we're happy to be doing our thing again? Or was it like, because Nickelodeon and Paramount owned this, did they pull us back into this because they were like, if you want to continue doing this, all future projects will be here? And I wonder how that went with the Netflix show, because the creators did seem initially very involved with the Netflix show.
They did. Now, I'm of a few opinions on it because I don't think it's any one individual thing. Nickelodeon owns it. They created an opportunity to create more. I also think that these are people that went in to make animated content. And if you're given the option to create a larger animated universe when you chose to be in animation, you would go where that's going. And I think that that makes perfect sense. Well, that didn't harm, it didn't harm my expectations for the Netflix show too much. I'm setting my expectations low because this is an incredibly important franchise.
But did they, remind me, because did they announce initially with the Netflix thing, because this was before Paramount Plus, this is before Nickelodeon said, we've got our own streaming thing. Wasn't the initial Netflix deal for a live action series to be followed by more animated stuff, or was that never said?
Nope, it was never said.
Okay, then great.
Yeah, it was just, we're making a live action series with Netflix, and that was the extent of it. And it wasn't long after that the animation studio through Paramount was announced. So it was very clear based on the timeline that that is what they left for.
Great.
And then they didn't leave and then get swooped.
Then I am equally excited for both. It sounds like both could be very good.
Yes, and there is the story. Skywalker, an actor, did lie about their ancestry on the Netflix show. The boy who was cast to play Sokka, there is an issue that he isn't actually native. I don't know actually where that ended up as to. Did
he pull a scholarship deal? Was he like, I'm 132nd? Like one of those deals?
I believe, look, at the end of the day, this is a kid who was 16, I think, when the process started. So I will also say that there is the adults involved should be held responsible.
There were adults in the room saying, if you get asked, say this.
Right, say that you're indigenous.
This is the correct answer. That is not really so much a lie, and we'll cover you for the rest of it. You know what I mean? It's not cool to be a teenage actor.
It's not cool to be a teenage actor. So without more information, I am not personally holding this child responsible. But, there is an age where it becomes old enough to know better. But that's not what this story is.
That's not what this story is. I've told you my Power Rangers story. I'll tell it again at some point, but it's related. But
Kaylee said that he made up a whole tribe, or whoever, again, was behind this was really rough.
Yike! Okay. Leaving that aside and putting that in the Netflix bucket,
yep,
we're talking about a very big announcement that happened on the Paramount Plus side.
They have announced that they are working on 3 Avatar animated movies, and I'm so incredibly excited about this. Laura Montgomery, who previously worked on Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, will direct the first of the 3 movies. They brought on the original creators. They've got on so much of the original teams for these movies. I'm so excited. They've got the producers back from the originals. Like, this seems like absolutely it. The first 3 things are 3 movies, and I think that's really excellent. There is no information about what these will be. Here, my hopes and predictions.
Okay.
My hopes and predictions. I hope that the first one is a Kyoshi movie.
I would love a Kyoshi Warriors movie.
And the source content exists, which makes that really easy. There's an easy point of entry also for even casual Avatar fans of their familiarity with Avatar Kyoshi, even if they haven't read the books.
There are so many wonderful groups of characters and locales they did such a great job with world building and lore, where they could take any location and any group of people in those 2 series and make a little movie based on them, and I would be overjoyed. Now, the Kyoshi Warriors definitely rank extremely highly for me. Something that I wonder.
I'm actually talking about Avatar Kyoshi.
Oh, Avatar Kyoshi.
The Kyoshi Warriors.
Oh.
I'm not against the Kyoshi Warriors movie as well.
You want to go back? Yeah.
I'm talking about Avatar Kyoshi and the founding of that, which became the Kyoshi Warriors.
Gotcha. I would love to see that as well. That's what
the books are about. The Kyoshi books are about Avatar Kyoshi, and Kyoshi's such a bad bitch.
When they showed her in that flashback, I haven't watched Korra, so I don't know if they go more into it. But
that's right.
But when they showed that flashback with her in the original Avatar, I was just like, damn, you do not fuck with her. Nobody fucks with her. She's badass. Do you think, talking about the books, talking about the comics, talking about this stuff, do you think this Avatar Airbender universe, right? This is going to be TV shows and movies. They talked about it last year. Are they going to keep that stuff in as canon, do you think? Or is that going to be like, the comics are kind of like their own thing, the books are kind of like their own thing?
keep it as canon.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's actually that big of a canon. I think you look at, Star Wars is the best example, right, of like severing canon. But that's because there were hundreds upon hundreds of pieces of media in the extended canon that were like literally impossible to canonize if you really wanted to establish one consistent canon.
Justice for Jackson the Space Rabbit.
Whereas in Avatar, there's not that much. You know what I mean? There's like a few graphic novels. I want to say there's like 10 or so.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because I have not read all of them.
And I know people really love the Korra comic. Like,
yeah.
The Korra comic people were really in love with.
And like I read the only one that I've read of the comics was the one that lands immediately after the events of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I thought that was really excellent and lovely. A lot of people talk about the like, do we do a movie that takes place in between Avatar and Korra, which would obviously follow then Aang again in theory. I'm not against it. I'd throw down, I'd light off the fireworks for it, but I don't know that it's what I personally want.
It would be hard for me as a fan of current Star Wars to say, I don't know that we need to revisit old characters once their story's been told. It would be hard for me as a Star Wars fan to say that because
I get that.
But at the same time, I really love the first Avatar series as like this beautiful, complete story. You know what I mean? And that's like I've told you, that's why I've had such a hard time watching Korra, is because when I love something so much and I feel like it was done so well in a single story, I'm like, beautiful. Could I like it more? It would be hard for me to like it more.
You don't have to like it more.
Yeah.
It's simply separate.
Yeah.
It is simply completely a different thing.
No, I know.
Which is where I think that comparison actually comes in when we visit Aang again. Now, I'm personally a big fan of the way that we revisit the understanding of Aang, of Katara, in The Legend of Korra. And I won't spoil too much for Anthony's sake, even though you have had so many years, Anthony. But I'm happy with it. A lot of people were not. A lot of people got very protective over their best boy and felt like it was not enough justice to him. And I say, I think you actually might have been attached to an 11-year-old and not understood that at some point he had to grow up.
Here's the thing, and I keep bringing it back to Star Wars in my head because that's me. But hey, people got real mad about Luke Skywalker too, and let me tell you something. I loved crotchety old man Luke Skywalker quite a bit. I thought it was a perfect direction for the character to go in. And that's the thing is like, I understand what you're saying where it's like, you can love it and it can be separate, right? Nothing will ever change that Avatar was a perfect series for me. Yep. And no matter how they treat an adult Aang, if they do that, it doesn't take that show away from me.
And the next show is simply not about adult Aang.
Right.
At all. Even a little bit. It is the world and how it was impacted by Aang.
But you can't, but what I'm saying is if they decide to do one of these in-betweeny shows.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, it's fine. Like, it doesn't hurt anything.
Agreed.
And also, like, it's fun when they take a character that you love and they do unexpected things with them. That's the point of stories. But anyway, speaking of which, Saige.
I just wonder what these movies are going to be. Put your speculations in the Discord.
But speaking of good boys that everybody loved and the continuations of those good boys, here's something. And that's how I'm presenting it. Here's something. There is a Jon Snow sequel Game of Thrones series in development with Kit Harington. Okay. I mean, like, okay. Like, okay.
Here's my maybe hot take. This is never coming. I don't think this is ever going to happen.
I think it gets stuck in development too because we enjoyed Jon Snow.
Yep.
Good character, good boy.
Yeah, he got his story.
Bad ending. Yeah, got his story. Walked off into the snow, said goodbye. I live amongst the ice now. It's a name and a promise. Jon Snow. And so he went and he did it. Here's what happened to me in the ice, and we're gonna have to find ways to have other characters cameo, and it's gonna be weird. And I don't know. I don't want to hate it out of the gate, but unlike more stories of like, say, an adult Aang, that's kind of interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's because he was 11.
Right, he was 11, and what do you do after you save the world at the age of 11?
Uh-huh.
And then what do you do when you're, what is your purpose then, and how do you affect and impact the world moving forward?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. You realized that your cousin was getting a little wacky, and you stabbed her, and you went off into the snow, and Arya Stark is right there. Arya Stark is right there. She got on a ship.
Dang.
She can wear other people's faces. She's an insane killer assassin. She's dope as fuck, and she's right there.
That's the thing for me, is of all characters, if you were going to pull anyone from the main cast, unequivocally, this should have been an Arya series. And the fact that there hasn't been one in development, we have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. We don't know if Maisie Williams has no interest in coming back.
If I was Maisie Williams, I'd be like, nah.
But obviously that is the story that is unfinished, incomplete, missing huge parts of it, and has so much further to go.
Her whole training,
was never used.
To be spooky faceless killer
Never came up.
Never came up.
Didn't come up.
Her whole the whole many-faced god, she's training with these people, she leaves them behind. That's a whole series in and of itself. She gets on a ship to go do cool assassin things. She can go anywhere in the world.
Yeah. I agree. Sarah Gidd said, it seems like Jon Snow has already had his time as a main character.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I think that was the Jon Snow show. I think Game of Thrones was, like, if you thought of one main character from Game of Thrones, most people would say Jon Snow.
I think there was a big three. Mm-hmm. You were either into Jon, you were into Daenerys, or you were into Tyrion.
Yeah.
Those were your big three. For these are the good guys.
I would argue that those were three favorite characters. I wouldn't argue that anyone would say Tyrion was the main character. And I'm just talking about if you had to pick one character that you believed was the main character, it's Jon Snow, and I believe that's followed by Daenerys. Mm-hmm. But he had his time as the main character. Maybe this will be fantastic. I'm still in the camp of I would still enjoy having more Game of Thrones shows.
Sure.
I am not somebody who is like so disheartened by the last season to not remember how much I fucking enjoyed the first few seasons. And it's valid if that like completely ruined it for you and you're not interested in it anymore, because there's so much content, we don't really need it. But I'm still team, I would love to see some more good Game of Thrones.
Now, let me hit you with this. Let me pitch you this way on the Jon Snow thing. Takes a Clone Wars sort of thing for it. A sort of a Filoni vibe where it's like, oh yeah, that last season was pretty bad. Could we add context that could repair this in some way for you or give it depth that it did not have?
I think if you were going to do that, it still wouldn't be centered around Jon Snow.
Yeah, and also I think the other thing about that is you would need to bring so much of the original cast back.
Yep. I think you could, which is obviously easier to do in an animated series.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you could center that around Arya once again, and you could still provide more context. If you wanted to be like, hey, let's try and stitch up that last season a little bit, and you started from that time with Arya, then to follow what happens after she got on that ship, I think that would actually be, and not from just like my bias of loving Arya.
Right.
I actually think that would be the thing that could fill in the most gaps because it was the most unaccounted for time.
Yeah, and she has the skill set and the ability to go anywhere in that world and see what's going on with any faction at any time. Mm-hmm. I'm putting on another face and I'm going to go see what's going on in this kingdom, and I'm going to see what's going on in this kingdom, and I'm going to fill in the gaps of all this political stuff that was going on.
And watching a character that can like swap their face like that in the way that we experience in like Dungeons and Dragons, and in what most similarly I can compare to The Doctor, of having a bunch of different actors play this character, I think is a fascinating and original idea.
Okay, but hear me out. The kind of attractive white guy. More of him.
I want to talk about something.
Got hot accent. 12 episode, hot accent. Mostly snow, a lot of ice.
I'm sorry, but hot accent only gets you a cameo for me.
Let's talk about
something that's personally important to me first. I want to talk about this so we don't miss it, because it doesn't matter to anyone else, but it matters to me a lot.
Oh, I had such a good segue, though. but that's okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
it's not helpful to say it now, Anthony.
She just narrowed her eyes so much at me. I love it.
Because what?
I'm just goofing. Go on.
Well, thank you for ruining the intro.
No, this is something that's not just important to you. This is something that was very seminal to a lot of people's childhoods.
Yeah,
it's a very big deal. Go on.
It's the Matilda musical. They're doing a Matilda musical movie. The film Matilda was incredibly important to me as a child. It was my favorite movie for my entire life. I had a cat named Matilda because of it. Like, I really like Matilda was it for me.
Have you seen the musical?
I have not seen the musical live, no.
I haven't seen the musical at all. I am unfamiliar with the musical.
I've seen the little sneaky bits of it that people put on the internet.
I am unfamiliar. I loved the movie. I loved the books. I love all of Roald Dahl's books.
And they released this trailer for it. Actually, would you pull it up on yours so we can have a little music?
Sure.
Emma Thompson is playing Miss Trunchbull, which is wild. And the transformation that they did on her is very, very impressive. I do feel like we're getting into a time here where we're intentionally casting actors that don't look like characters just so they can have the headline of how impressive it is that we made them look like that.
That's been a trend in Hollywood for so many years, and I hate every time it comes back on the cycle. I mean, I love Emma Thompson.
Right. I'm not mad at this one because they're not making her an old Jewish person, but
right.
you know, which tends to be for some reason the target of these over and over again.
No. What is your name?
This did a lot of justice too.
I love that it has such. It definitely has a different look than the movie did, which I love.
But also,
but it's recognizable.
It's super recognizable. There's a couple of scenes coming up that are so important. And like the school looks very right to me.
We're revolting children growing up in revolting times. I love it.
Ugh.
This is very good.
This looks phenomenal to me. Wait.
Matilda Wormwood. Criminals like you.
Look at those
Just a
shoulders.
more dramatic version of this.
Lesson.
Yes, look at the shoulders.
Yup. And the
Oh my
details,
God.
That child is still alive.
down to that detail of that kid specifically doing the little like.
Yeah.
I don't know. That made my heart very happy. I was so excited for this trailer. I think it did really excellent, and I didn't have any eye on the fact that this was even happening.
Yeah. Now, the transformation thing, I'll say, when you're doing a Roald Dahl film, and everybody's supposed to look like those like gigantic cartoony illustrations that he used to do.
Do it.
I think it's super fun. You know, it's not like turning Colin Farrell into the Penguin for no fucking reason.
Right.
It makes sense. She's supposed to look like this horrific ideal that's in a child's mind. So I love it. It's nice to see the Roald Dahl license stuff at Netflix starting to come out because, you know, after they bought the entire estate of Roald Dahl, I was kind of like, what are they going to do? What's up? What's coming first? You know, we know that some stuff got canceled. A lot of animated stuff got canceled that was planned.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing this as their first, like, big Roald Dahl thing makes me very happy. I think it's going to be very, very good.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love anything that's whimsical, but also about sad children. That's my shit.
And as someone who's a former sad child,
and a little whimsical,
and a bit whimsical now, that's why that movie meant so much to me.
I put it in the same pile. For me, it's in the same pile. I mean, obviously, any Roald Dahl stuff is in this pile, but it's in the same pile as like a series of unfortunate events for me. It goes in sad children who are brilliant and unrecognized for their brilliance in whimsical worlds. All of it. Give me all of it.
I'm very excited for it. And I do love a musical. I wanted to end on this. We've been talking a lot about Greta Gerwig's Barbie movie that's coming up. We know Margot Robbie is going to be playing Barbie. And we did get the announcement. We knew that Ryan Gosling was going to be Ken.
Yes, but we've learned even more, which is exciting. The first thing that happened was we got the photo. Now, scroll down just a little bit, Saige. I would like to talk about Ken in the 90s Calvin Kleins that say Ken on the waistband instead of Calvin Klein.
So good.
This is amazing.
This is incredible. This is perfect.
Now, one of my favorite things is that people have been using this as like a meme, and they've been putting it up against like other Ryan Gosling stuff where he's like all tatted up or looks sad.
Yeah.
And they've been like, first day in LA, 10 years in LA.
Yeah.
But this is so good, and this is such the like, it's a specific era of Ken doll.
And you can place it immediately.
Yeah, this was like my little sister had this Ken doll. I know exactly when this Ken doll is from. Mm-hmm. But something that's very interesting is they've talked a lot about this supporting cast.
Yes.
And we now know he is not the only Ken. Some of the other cast is indeed playing Ken. Simu Liu is also Ken.
Yes. Trying to find where the list is, if there was any like definitive list of Kens, but yeah. We know Simu, and at least in the beginning, we knew Simu Liu is definitely going to be one of the Kens. But also that tells us a little bit about this movie and the like weird kind of uncanny way that it's going.
Yeah, it's great because you think about what Greta Gerwig does, right? And you think about, why Margot Robbie wanted Greta Gerwig, right? Mm-hmm. Greta Gerwig's movies have a theme of transformation and realization in the life of a young woman, right? And some of these things are told like, she's done the very whimsical vignette thing, she's done it in a few movies before. But I do love the idea of different times in Barbie's life when she's feeling different things or going through different things, she views Ken in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? It's a great metaphor for a relationship if that indeed is the way they're going with this.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
I think that could be a very fascinating thing. I don't know that that's what they're doing. It may just be like, every dude is Ken. That's just what they're named. And they're a bunch of different Kens. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe she just winds up dating a bunch of Kens, or everybody she dates. It's like, oh, it's a Ken. I'm dating another Ken.
This is my boyfriend, Ken.
Yeah.
What do you mean? This is my new boyfriend, Ken.
Because there is also the thing of Ken is an accessory to Barbie.
Yep.
Whereas, like, it was an answer to action figures for boys where, like, the girl is the princess to be saved. Ken is the boyfriend to be on Barbie's arm while she's doing every other thing.
100% Ken's just arm candy, baby.
Ken is like, well, what do you want in your life? I want a cool job. I want cool friends. I want a cool house. I want a cool boyfriend. Check, 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 check.
Yeah. Barbie's out here being an astronaut.
Mm-hmm. And Ken's at home with the 8-pack in the jean vest.
Right.
So
yeah, that's my guess on it, is just this is my new boyfriend, Ken. In this kind of like uncanny, like weird kind of self-aware version of a Barbie movie. That's my guess.
I freaking love it.
I'm very excited about it.
Can I throw in one last thing?
You may.
I'm going to throw in one last thing. Small announcement that came out, very important to me. Aging Weebs, hello. I am you and you are me. And I'm just
like you. You're just like me.
There is a new Trigun coming. Trigun Stampede is coming to Crunchyroll in 2023. It's going to be made by Studio Orange. It's going to be CG. Let's not judge it yet. Studio Orange, of course, made Beastars, Land of the Lustrous, some of the most beautiful CG animes of the last few years. Did you ever watch Land of the Lustrous? You would lose your mind over it. I think you would really love it. It is a mix of emotions, Jesse. You are correct. But I'm seeing a lot of people cold shoulders saying, oh man, Ronan Monkey's like, where do I get that Crunchyroll sub? Here's the thing. Trigun Stampede 2023, set on a fictional planet known as No Man's... Yeah, it's telling the whole thing. It's redoing it. It's going to be Studio Orange working with Madhouse, the original animators and the original creators, to get it right. I'm down for a new telling of Trigun. I love Trigun. What a great time for media. minus this Jon Snow thing, which is a question mark. But the rest of this sounds very good, everything we've spoken about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff coming.
A lot of good stuff coming.
And, we complain, and I think everyone does, about the kind of retreading of existing things and, like, the focus on nostalgia. But also, sometimes I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like, oh, that is for me. Thank you.
Well, and some of these things are like, they are retro, but they're not. They are throwbacks, but they're not. Like, Barbie has always been around.
Barbie has always been around, and we haven't had a live... Have we ever had we've had...
Has there ever been a live action Barbie thing? I don't know. I have no idea.
There must have been like a straight to fucking DVD or something at some point, right?
If it had happened in my lifetime, I would definitely remember it.
Yeah, no, there's never been a live action.
So I think this is very interesting.
Fascinating.
It's this is the first time Barbie's getting her due in like a real way.
I will say the Barbie online content, I vouch for it every time we talk about Barbie.
Oh,
incredible, fantastic, wonderful. The things they're doing over there, phenomenal.
Whoever, like, that Barbie VTuber team is like crushing it.
Absolutely fucking crushing it.
But yeah, some of this stuff, if a franchise has been around for a really long time and it's already existed in multiple forms, it's like, yeah, you can keep bringing it back. And I don't think it feels too much like going back to the well too often.
I agree. I think this is great. We've had some very good news today. Thank you for joining us, of course, but that is all of the time that we have, unless you're a patron. And then you're going to get an extra bonus clip over on our Patreon today, starting at $5 a month. And we're very happy to be back. We've missed our patrons very, very much. We usually talk about either a story we didn't get to or just something fucking weird. Sometimes we just pick the weirdest thing we could talk about that day.
Come vibe with us is what we say. And when you support us on Patreon, you don't just support this show, you support Pixel Circus, the entire network. All that Patreon money goes into all of the expenses that it takes to run an entire network out of a ding-dang shed.
It's not cheap.
You'd think it would be cheap because of the shed.
It isn't.
The shed is the cheapest part.
Yes, and that goes as well for your subscriptions, your bits. Thank you for keeping this channel literally possible. But your donations and things like that over there, go to who you see on screen, which today is us, helping us, eat, which is very cool of you.
Eating
but
is
also
dope.
Never required. We make a show so that you will watch it. We do the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific. And if it is not 8 a.m., when you tune in and the show is starting, your clock is wrong, not us.
Look inward is what we say to that.
You should have that checked out.
You have to examine yourself.
Check the clock within your heart.
Yeah.
That will say 8 a.m. every time.
Think about it.
But there's other ways non-monetarily that you can support us just by telling a friend about the show. Joining the Discord, it's totally free. You can post a tweet if you like it. Post a clip from it. Because maybe someone else would enjoy the show and enjoy hanging out with you in the mornings as well.
Honestly, the biggest thing is when you tell somebody that you love the show and then they come watch the show, you cannot imagine the feeling that gives us. Because that's the real shit.
The clock's within our heart.
It strikes 8 a.m. Strikes 8 a.m. You know when they zoom in on the Grinch and it goes like this? It hits 8 a.m. and it explodes.
Every time.
So
thank you very much. We're going to go through and we're going to thank everybody individually who supported us during the show today in those monetary ways. Thank you to Son of Orpheus, a wonderful mod for 21 months. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Jeremiah was a bullfrog with the bits. Ronan with the tips said numbers. And those are some nice mugs you got there. Thank you very much. I think they'll be available sometime soon. We'll see if you want them, if you're interested in that sort of thing. M. Grover, thank you for the 3-month resub. Jan and Far, thank you very much for this 6-month Prime sub. Thank you for taking a little money out of the BC's pocket. So appreciated. G. Rex with the 16-month resub said, feel better, everyone. Stay safe. Hey, you two out there. Thank you very much. Havoc Girl with the sub for 12 months, almost a Pixel Circus year, but is a normal people year, said, apparently I like you guys.
We thought you might.
Can't disagree with that.
Retro1123, thank you for resubbing with Prime for 3 months. M. Jason O with 11 months, thank you so much. That one Moon Kid gifting the sub to Sassy Miss Cassie. Both of you trapped here now with us. Eternal Space Witch with the 15 months of Prime. That's 15 months of taking money out of the Beezy pockets. DeBearju with the cheer. Thank you so much. Royal 3 with the resub for 2 months saying, hello, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
And also with you.
Lots of kittens with the 15 months saying to 15 months and many more. Thank you so much, Anthony and Saige, for making my early mornings that much better. Oh, thank you for saying so.
Also, if you're still here, lots of kittens, I did a little walk around the art show on my way out to see if I could find y'all, and I'm sorry I didn't.
We didn't know where y'all were.
I just wanted to say I'm sorry about that, but I hope you had a very good Star Wars celebration.
I scanned Artist Alley for your stuff. I didn't see you. And Will I Am with the resub for 2 months. Thank you all so much. Oh, and we have coming in at the very last moment. Darwin 50 with the cheer. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for watching, for supporting. You are absolutely beautiful people. We love you very much. If you're a patron, we'll see you in a few, and if not, we'll see you next week. Bye, BBs. We love you.
Ha 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 ha.